Actually, as you can see, there is a postdoc in Milano, in Italy, and also is associated with INFN. She will talk about gauge strength dualities. Anjali, go for it.
Yes, hello everyone. Well, Carlos, probably you know that this is your title. I think this is the title that you always use for the talks, but I think this is very precise for this lecture, so I took your title. Well, I want to say three things before to start. The first one is I want to join to Nico, to Mauricio and Carlos, because I want to also thank to the organizers. It's very nice to see that this Young Frontiers meeting is going on each year. And the second thing, and I want to start with this, is that I want to make an announcement. I want to tell you that the sixth version of the Young Frontiers meeting will have dates for that, and this will be the first event in person in Sao Paulo, Brazil, in the building of the ICTP. So it's time to open your calendars and have in mind these days, because it's not 3 days as the previous events. It's for 2 weeks, from June 30 to July 11. So also we will have a partial funds, partial scholarships that we will offer, and you will receive information in the next month. We have some of the lectures here. I put here in this slide, or in this note, the lectures that most of them are really confirmed. And I hope to see you there. So, and with this, I want to start now. But the third thing that I want to mention is that please stop me if you have questions. I will do my best to answer your questions. It's my first time in this side of the audience. So if I don't have the answer immediately, I will think and I will answer later. So please stop me with questions. Okay, so this is the outline, and I prepared the parts of the lecture, having in mind one of these topics in 1 hour. The lecture 1 today, the lecture 1 tomorrow, and the lecture 3 for Wednesday. But if I don't finish today, I will continue with the things that are missing, or if I finish now before, I will start with the second part. So there is no rush. So please stop me. Again, I will tell you, stop me if you have questions. So, okay, this is the outline, and I want to start. The lecture 1 is about brain pictures and Quiver field theory. And here, my goal is to show you the D4, a precise example, D6 MS5 brain configuration. In the lecture 2, well, this is very general solution generating techniques, but there are many solution generating techniques now in supergravity, but now I'm more familiar with the Killing spin-off technique. And in particular here, in order to show you how the technique works, I choose this example. ADS3 in massive type 2A with small n equals 4,0 supersymmetry. Well, tomorrow this title will be more clear. And in the lecture 3, I will show you the main goal here is to show you a whole example now, because we considered this example 5 years ago, but I think this is a very nice example where you can see this new page very clear. This is the n equals the dual of the solution that I that I write here. But also, if the time allows, I will show you some ideas of these other examples. And I will mention some ideas about holograms. Okay, with this outline, I will go to the references in case that someone wants to see more in detail these topics. The example that I will show you here is this one. So this is the example, the D4, D6, and S5. But the ideas, the first ideas that I will describe here were constructed in this one. And you will hear me saying a lot the word Hanani Witte, so because Hanani and Witte constructed this example. And the example that they construct is a D3, D5, and S5 brain, where this example realized a 3D gauge theory with n equals 4. But in these two references are like the encyclopedias in case that someone wants to see a precise concept. And I will show you at the beginning some like a toy model that I took from this reference, which is a very good reference in case that someone wants to study physics of the brain. Okay, with this, well, the first thing here is that this is not a course of string theory, but I know that the audience is going from master students, even undergrad, so I will mention some basic stuff about the string theory. And we will be in the regime where string theory is approximated by supergravity. That means that we are in the low energy regime, which means energy is lower than the string scale, where the massless modes are relevant. So we will focus on type 2B in type 2 in general, because we want to construct examples for the ADS-CFT correspondence. So I will focus on type 2B, on type 2 string theory. And I will use this notation here, where we have a 9 plus 1 dimensional spacetime labeled by the X0, X1, X2, X3, up to X9. And the corresponding gamma matrices for this M going to 0 to 9 with the gamma 11, the chirality operator. So type 2A string theory comes in two flavors. The first one is type 2A, where we say that this theory has a 1,1 space-time supersymmetry. That means that we have an operator, that we have this condition when we apply the chirality of the chirality operator to the spinor and produce plus the spinor. And also when we apply the chirality matrix or the chirality operator to the right spinor, we will obtain minus the spinor. And we say that this theory, for this reason, is non-chiral. In type 2B, we have, or we say that that we have 2,0 space-time supersymmetry, which means that when we apply the chirality matrix, we have both spinors So with loss. Here is the right, here is the right. And for this reason, we call chiral theory. So now we know that a string theory is more than a theory of a string. We also have three-dimensional objects, and we call P-branes, which are playing a role, playing an important role when we study the dynamics of abelian or non-abelian gauge theory. The first example that I want to show you here is the Nephew-Schwarz NS5 brane. And this has these features. This is a stretch in the X1, X2, and up to the X5 direction, which means that we have the X6 up to the X9 in the transverse directions of the brane. That means that we have a six-dimensional work volume. This is coupled to the Nephew-Schwarz vector of the theory via a V2 field, which we call V mu nu. And the tension behaves like 1 over the G string to the square. This is a solitonic object that will become strongly coupled in the Weak coupling limit of string theory. One feature of this, an important feature of this object is that not open strings. This object doesn't have open strings on the brane. So they don't support gauge field. And we also say that these objects preserve half of the supersymmetry. And probably you hear many times this feature, that these branes or the NS5 branes or the BP branes are 1/2 BPS. And the reason that this is that when we apply, the fact that we have an object in type 2 theory implies conditions on the spinor. And these conditions are, when we apply these conditions, you have an operator on the spinor and you produce these conditions here. The operator are the product of the gamma matrix, the tensorial product of the gamma matrix, where the brane is extended. And when we analyze these conditions, we say that half of the supersymmetries are preserved when we introduce these objects in the theory. These conditions are different depending if we are in type 2A or in type 2B. So now the other object that I want to introduce here is the Dirichlet or the DP brane. Now we can describe this object here. These are objects that are extended in the X1 up to the XP, and they have a transverse direction P+1 up to X9. So this object has a P+1 dimensional work body. The tension is different to the NS5 brane. This is going to, like, the tension of the brane is proportional to the 1 over GS. This is lighter. These objects are lighter compared with the tension of the NS5 brane. And in this case, the supersymmetry, we also say that these are 1/2 BPS, but the restriction is different here. We have the restriction for the spinors and this operator that I showed you before for the NS5 brane. Now for the DP brane is the product of the gamma matrices where the brane is extended. So now, for the NS5 branes, I told you that the NS5 branes couple magnetically to the V2 the D2 belongs to the nebulous sector. Now these objects appears in the Ramon-Ramon sector. They couple to the Ramon-Ramon P+1 form, which here I put like a DP brane, and I put also the potentials that we can say that they are like potentials well, this here is related with the potentials that appears in electromagnetic. But we also have different quantities depending if we are in type 2A or in type 2B. The potential for type 2A are when these are even formed. This is for type 2A. And the potentials for type 2B are odd form. Another feature that I want to tell you is these objects are defined by the property compared with the NS5 branes, where no open strings end on the NS5 branes. Now, the DP branes are defined by the property that open strings can end on them. That means that here we have Newman boundary conditions in the direction parallel to the brane. And Dirichlet boundary conditions to the Dirichlet boundary conditions in the transverse directions of the brane. And we have here branes attached to this brane. This allows to have, this fact is giving a rise to gauge field. So, in other words, we can say that the small fluctuations of the DP branes are extreme, and its dynamics can be studied using open string perturbation theory. So, the word volume, I told you that is that the branes has open strings produce gauge fields. We are having gauge fields, and the word volume of the DP brane, it's a P+1 dimensional field theory. That means that it describes in this word volume the dynamics. It describes the dynamics of the ground states of open strings. So the endpoint, as I told you before, the endpoint of an string is charged under and thus couples to the gauge field A mu with a field string. And we can study the massless spectrum, and this massless spectrum includes gauge fields. A mu. This is a P+1 dimensional U1 gauge field, which U has the indices going to 0, from 0 to P. And we also have a scalar which parameterize the fluctuations of the DP brane in the transverse direction, where this index now is going from P+1 to 9. We also have fermions. These are Weyl fermions, and the quantity of these fermions depends on the amount of supersymmetry that the DP brane preserves. It's well known, probably you study in the QST courses, that the dynamics of this is given by the Dirac-Born-Infeld action, which looks in this way that I'm putting here, that I'm writing here, and where we can recognize the tension of the brain, of the deep brain. And another thing that we usually do when we have in the QST course is to expand this action in terms of this alpha prime that appears here. And the action that we recover is this one with these precise factors here. And this is exactly, or this is something that we relate with the action of the Yang-Mills. We say that the action of the Dirac-Born-Infeld action is related with the Yang-Mills theory with a gauge group U1. And we say that the gauge coupling constant is given by, when we identify the gauge coupling, in this way, we say that we recover the Yang-Mills action. So the well-known example, and probably if you
Sorry,
take,
Anna-Shirley,
yeah.
Can you go up a little bit, please?
Yeah.
So what is P of GAB?
Is the pullback of the metric. It's the pullback of the metric of the space-time.
Okay, and so in this action, the scalar fields and the fermions don't feature?
The scalar fields are here, because here I'm putting the complete, the 10-dimensional metric. I'm writing the pullback in this way. Here we have, these are the coordinates of the brain. And here I'm putting the x mu, and the rest of the coordinates. So here I'm putting the coordinates. If you choose an stat, for instance, if you choose a gauge, you can put the coordinates, and the usual gauge that we choose is the static gauge, where you identify the coordinates with the space-time coordinates with the coordinates where the brain is extended, but you also have the coordinates transverse to the brain. And these are the fields.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
And one more thing, between the equality sign, and then you put like a sim, and then you put f squared. What happened between the first line and the what happened between the first line and the second one?
This one I'm doing like
an expansion.
An expansion of the square root, and I'm taking the leading order in alpha prime. This is the reason that I can write this.
Perfect, thanks.
Yeah. No, you're welcome. More questions if someone has more questions.
I have a question. For the NS5 brains, if they don't support gauge field, what are the fields that they support?
They don't have gauge fields. They arise in the Nephew-Schwarz sector. The Nephew-Schwarz sector is related with the closed strings. So we don't have open strings in this sector, so they don't have gauge fields.
But there is like a DBA action for them of some kind of conformal field theory description of them or something like that?
I haven't seen this, but I'm sure, well, this is something that is studied when the people study the NS5 brains. They don't have open strings, so they don't produce gauge fields. So you don't have a dynamics like the D brain compared with the D brain.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. More questions, because it's a good point, I think. Okay, no more questions. Probably the well-known example, and something that the people that study holography is when this the brains are when the P is equal to 3. We have only one kind of brain, the D3 brain. So this preserves half of 2C. That means of the 32 supercharges, we have 16. And we also study in these courses the generalization, this action, to M coincidence DP brain or D3 brain. And this is the example that we study for holography. Now, the strings have this freedom of having their endpoints in any of the coincident brains. So we can study the massless space, the induced and UN gauge theory. That means that the fields are now UN valuated. What is the meaning of this? That now we have we have to put, but now these objects are matrix. This is the meaning of this. Where these fields now transform in the adjoint representation of UN, of the group that we have now. And we say that these fields belong now to the vector multiplex of the theory. So this is the example that we study in holography. We are describing the dynamics of N D3 brains, and the theory that we obtain is something that probably you hear many times, like the N equals 4 super Yang-Mills theory in 3+1 dimensions with a gauge group SUN, and with the Yang-Mills coupling constant equal to this quantity here. Okay, so this is something that the people study in the courses, and I repeat here because I will use some ideas of this. But I want to complicate more the things, and the way to complicate the things is asking, could we add more types of brains to this configuration? And the answer is yes, we can do it. So, but the thing that we will have now is if we are more brains, we will have configurations with lower supersymmetry, because we are adding more extra brains to the theory. Now, the word volume dynamics is typically rather rich. And the way to generalize this is adding, well, the trivial is adding more parallel brains, or adding brains considering configurations of brains ending on other brains. And I will show you two examples before to go with the before D6 and S5 brains. These examples are toy models. They don't produce a specific gauge theory, but it's good to see these examples in order to see how are the fields and how are the behaviors of the gauge coupling. So the first thing is to add more brains. And the example that I will show you here is a DP brain, and I will add a BP plus 4 brain. So this is in my configuration or in my drawing, in this drawing that I'm putting here. I will put the BP plus 4 here. This is the blue brain that I have here. And I will extend this brain in the direction x1 up to xp plus 4. And the brain that I will add here is parallel. That means that is like in this direction. I will add the BP brain, and this has the word volume or is extend in this direction here. So that means that the transverse direction, I'm putting here the transverse direction to this system as plus 4, 5 up to x9. And one can, well, for instance, if one can see this configuration in a precise example, we can put this, we can put numbers here, the D2 and D6, because it's more clear when we see in a precise example. And we can study this kind of tables, which you will find, or probably the people call this kind of tables as a brain setup. And you put a D2 here, and you put a D6, and you put the directions where these brains are extended. For instance, x0, x1, x2, and the x6, the D6 has this direction here, up to x6. So here, one thing that we can say, or we can see, is what are the degrees of freedom that these brains share. Common. And this is something that we call the intersection. And precisely in this direction is where the gauge theory leads. So one can study the supercharges, the same features that I mentioned for the BP brain, but now in type 2A we have 32 supercharges, and I put a D2. So this reduce, the D2 reduce the supersymmetries by a half, and also the D6 reduce the supersymmetries by a half. So that means that we have a supersymmetry. Also, we can study the gauge theory. And for instance, the gauge coupling, we know that from the discussion that I mentioned before, that the gauge coupling is going as the LS to the P minus 3. So for instance, for the D2, we will have something like this. Yeah, D2, yeah. And for the D6, we will have something like this. So that means that at low energies, the dynamics is governed by the lower dimensional gauge theory. So the dynamics is governed by the D2, where precisely are the common coordinates for the the word volume coordinates of the intersection. So the field content.
Sorry,
Now,
Anayeli,
yeah.
I didn't understand
Yeah.
why you put the second half in the supercharged count, and but why? This is because you are only seeing this intersection part, right? Or why is 1/2? That's I don't understand.
Well, the 1/2, I explained you, I think, in the first slide, that every time that you put a brane in the theory, you are putting an extra object in the theory. So you have to analyze the spinors, you have to analyze the supercharges that are preserved when you introduce this. This implies restrictions on the spinors, and if you analyze the restrictions that I put here, let me see if I have these restrictions that I put here. When you analyze this, you will see that half of the supersymmetries are preserved every time that you put an extra object in the theory.
Yes, but that doesn't depend then on the dimension of the brane. That's I mean, you have
No.
1/2 for okay.
No, it
That
doesn't
was the
depend on the dimension of the brane. We will see later an example where you can add this brane and the supersymmetry is not reduced. But for this example, these examples are like toy models. So in these examples, in principle, you have to put a 1/2 because you are putting extra branes. But in the last example that I have, the D4, D6, and S5 brane, you will see that you can add the D6 at no cost. But this is something that I will explain later. So please be patient.
Okay,
for
thank
that.
you.
Anna-Shelley, sorry.
Yeah.
In 5 more minutes, can we go closing so we start with the question and answer session?
Okay, so let me say the field contents very quick, and I will move to the other example. Yeah. Okay. So the field content. Let me explain you now the field content of the theory. So we have an A mu, where now we have the mu going from 0 to 1, 2. And now the fluctuations of these scalar fields that are parameterizing the fluctuations of the open string. This is going from 3 to 9. We need to split this because we have fluctuations on the transverse directions of both branes, and also we have fluctuations that are part of the work volume of the D6. So we have to split this for A and B. So these fields, we can rearrange these fields in this way, where A mu, also the fluctuations here. We also have the super partners here. This forms the vector multiplets of the theory that transform in the adjoint. We also have the transverse directions to both, that are in the work volume of the D6, and this forms the hypermultiplet in the theory. And this is another name that we usually use. This field has the origin in the D2 strings. So then you have open strings in this way, and the hypermultiplet has the origin in the D2, D6, sorry, D2, D6, so in this D2, D6. These are hypermultiplets that transform in the fundamental representation of each one of the gauge groups, the U and D2, U and D6. And we can say, or you can find these hypermultiplets with other names as matter fields, and they correspond to flavors in the fundamental representation of each one of the gauge fields, of the gauge groups. So I will use also this word in next slide as flavor. So we can construct another configurations using
Anna-Shelley,
string duality. Yeah.
Anna-Shelley, can I break you? I made a mistake. So people in the organization and Joaquin are telling me that you have at least 5 or 7 more minutes for the lecture. So
think
now,
I
sorry.
have to finish at 6:10, right? Well, in my time.
I think that's with the
So-
break. That's okay. Lucas is telling me 50 of talk. So yeah, it's until the hour is your talk. Sorry, you have 10 more minutes. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, so I'm more happy now. Okay, so we can study another configurations using string duality. Because if you start with a DP and D plus 4, you can bring this system to another system. Here, I put another example. We can use these string dualities, which are typically in type 2A, this duality is in type 2B. So here, for instance, you can see that if you have a DP brain, and if you perform a T-duality in the transverse directions of the brain, you will produce a D plus 1. But if you perform the T-duality in one of the word volume direction of the DP, the degree of the degree is decreased. So you will produce a DP minus 1 brain. Okay, this is in general for an NS5 brain. If you perform the T-duality in the transverse direction, you will produce an NS5 brain. If you perform in the word volume direction, you will produce another object. That makes no sense for this talk, but I put here in case that someone wants to see this table for the future. The S-duality works in type 2B. The D1 produces an F1, and also the opposite. The D3 produces a D3, is self-dual. The D5 and NS5 brains, and the 7, the 7. So here I put an example that you can also study if you want, if you have free time. You can study also the DP D plus 1. You perform a T-duality on the transverse direction of this DP, and you will produce a D plus 1. And here you will produce a D plus 3. So this, if you redefine these quantities, this is the example that we have here, D plus 1. And also you can use equality in this direction S3, you will produce a D3 here, a D5, and you perform S-duality here, you produce a D3, and NS5 brain. And you can perform also many T-dualities in the transverse direction of the NS5 brain. The NS5 brain belongs here, is remaining here. And also, well, here depends on the number of the dualities that you are performing. You will produce another DP brain. So you can study other configurations if you want. The next complication that I want to show you is when we add this brain, but this brain now ending in another brain.
And
So
Nayeli,
for instance,
this is all of this T-duality and X-duality are at the level of supergravity, right?
At the level of supergravity, yeah. Well,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, because at the level of DVI action, you can do something similar, or it's not possible?
At the level of the DV, what do you mean with the DV? With the
DVI
Dirac
action.
Horn-Infeld action?
Yes.
This is something that I haven't done, but probably the answer is yes, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure, Brandon, to be honest. Okay, let me think and I will answer later.
Okay.
Okay, so well, I was telling you that add brains, but considering configuration, that brains ending on brains. The starting point that we can study here is a fundamental string. Extend, well, first I will put the D3 brain. It's a D3 brain. Extend in the X1, X2, and X3 direction. So this is 1, 2, 3, the D3 brain. And a fundamental string perpendicular to the D3 brain. So this I will put in the X4 direction. This is the reason that I put here the X4 direction. in this drop. So this is a fundamental string that I will put the work volume in this direction. But by a change of dualities, I can bring this system to the system. For instance, if I perform an duality, the D3 is just dual, so this is again the D3, the F1 produce a D1, and I will perform two dualities in the X4 and X5. I have the D5 and I have the D3. And again, an duality, and this is the system that I will put here, that I will study in the next slide. D3 branes ending on NS5 branes. So I will locate the NS5 brane and X6 equal to 0. So this is the reason that I put the X6 in this direction. This is the D3 brane with this direction here, and the NS5 brane is extended in the usual direction. So I can construct the brane setup, or I can put the directions in this brane setup. I have the D3, and the D3 is the this. So the first question, what is the brane intersection? So the dynamics, these are the brane intersection, and the dynamics takes place on the intersection here. If you see, well, in the previous cases, one naively can think that the D3 branes produce a four-dimensional theory. But in this case, the theory is three-dimensional. So this is the reason that we say that the work volume theory on the brane that ends on another brane is a truncated version of the dynamics of an infinite brane. So the work volume now it's the 1,2 plus the half line. Okay, so effectively, the D3 branes behave in this truncated version as the D2 brane, because this direction, the axis direction, is finite, we can say. So we can study the supersymmetry. We have the NS5 brane. We also have the D3 brane. So the supersymmetry is the same. Supercharged. Okay. So we can study also, and I will finish with this, the gauge theory, the dynamics in the work volume of the D3 brane. The gauge coupling, in principle, if you have in mind that I told you before that the coupling constant is proportional to the LS, P plus 3, but P plus 3 means that theory, if we have the D3, means that we have a theory four-dimensional. So if we study the units of this is LS to the 0, so the units is equal to 1. This is in principle, but I was telling you that this behaves not as a four-dimensional theory. Instead, we have a three-dimensional theory. So when the D3 branes, when the D3 becomes finite in one direction, the theory effectively reduced to the 3D gauge theory. And by dimensional reduction, we can study this in the Dirac-Born interaction, and you can expand the integral that appears in the Dirac-Born interaction, and you will find if the X6 has a length equal to L, you will find this is proportional to LS Let me see, because now I'm confused. I think it's this. Yes.
It's ls to the 0 in the denominator, I think.
I think it's, yeah, I think here is yes. Yeah. So now, thanks, Carlos. So now the G coupling, if you put the dimensions of this, is -1. So this is the scaling behavior of a 3D theory. So in this kind of configuration, one can say that the G is sensitive to the size of this finite action, and if we want, for instance, this coupling constant fixed for GS equal to 0, then it means that L is also going to 0. That this is relevant for the future when we say more complicated brain configurations. So keep in mind this. So the field context, now we will arrange this. Now we have the new going from 0, 1, 2. But also, if you remember, we have also the A6. But now this A6, as the D brain is attached to the NS5 brain, this A6 behaves as an scalar because they contains boundary conditions, Dirichlet boundary conditions on this direction. So effectively, this is behaving as a scalar field. And also, we have the scalars, the fluctuations of the string, which are some of them are perpendicular to both to the transverse directions of both brains, and the other ones are these ones are in the work volume of the brains, and these ones are the transverse directions for the brain. So this for the vector multiplet of the theory, and this for the hyper multiplet of the theory. Of course, we need to add the super partners that I'm putting here, like super partners here. So I will stop here because I think I have in time, and tomorrow I can continue with the examples that I want to reach today, but I wanted to reach today, but okay, for the time, I can stop here.
Thanks very much, Anacheli, for the very nicely prepared lecture. People, questions? Either raise your hand or unmute and go for it. Okay, dale, Marcelo.
One second.
Dale,
Thank you. Sí. Thank you, Anacheli, for your lecture. Very nice. I have a quite generic question. In this brain intersection configuration, that if you have, for example, the example that you give, the D2, D6 system, is there a way, like, for example, obtain the supergravity configuration that leads you to this brain configuration? I don't know if.
What do you mean with this? I don't.
For example, if the supergravity configuration, let's say in the D3 brain, for example, is quite well known. No, there is a way to construct it and solve the type 2B equation of motion. But if you have intersection, is there a way to construct the metric and the potentials?
Yeah, in fact, this is something, well, I won't show you tomorrow, but this is something that we have also in mind. But you can put the metric of the D2 and you can put the metric of the D6. You can mix both metrics and you can solve the supergravity equations of motion. Yeah, this is for sure. Here I'm showing you the gauge, how the people study the gauge field.
Okay.
This is something
Okay.
that I mentioned here, but tomorrow is more supergravity part. I won't mention these examples in the supergravity
Okay.
part, but yeah, you can study this.
Okay. Super clear. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
More questions. More questions for Anna-Shelley. Either raise your hand or unmute and don't be shy.
Also, if you have questions in Spanish and you are shy to tell me in English.
We even understand the Spanish.
Well, we can translate the question and answer the question in English.
In this system you are going to discuss tomorrow, can you give us some preview of what will happen here if you were to say in 1 minute what will occur here?
Well, here we have a more complicated configuration because we will have NS fibrane separated by an interval, So the theory now, for instance, we reduce the supersymmetry for the NS5 brain, we reduce the supersymmetry for the D4 brain, but the D6 brain doesn't imply a reduction of supersymmetry. This is something that I will tell you tomorrow. So also we split the Lorentz group. So we will see where is the dynamics of the theory. And also we will see what are the fields. Again, we will split the fields that are in the hypermultiplier, what are the fields that are in the vector multiplier, what is the R symmetry, what are the global symmetry, and this is reduced to this is called also an R symmetry with the doublet transform. Let me see what else I will tell you. I will explain you also how these configurations can be described in a Hanani-Witten brain setup, where we can extract information from the theory, and we map this information to a quiver field theory. And also the condition for the consistency of the quivers is coming from the beta function. So this is something that you know, I think, more than me, Carlos.
Thanks very much. Thanks very much. Any other more questions, or we close here? I hope I didn't spoil too much the schedule.
No, it's fine. I think.
Good. All right. Clap for Anna-Shelley. Go to reactions and doing like this. Thank you very much, Anna-Shelley. See you tomorrow.
See you.
Ciao, ciao. So, Lucas, break? I don't know. I don't have...
Yes, we have a break until, or let me say, how many minutes? We'll come back in 20 minutes.
Yeah, 20 minutes. Under 30.
Yes. Okay. 20 minutes, we have Marcelo.
Thank you. See you then.
See you in 20 minutes.
Okay, see you.